This team that we're doing next couldn't be joined by Brady Green because he is a
At the
30-year-old
brew house.
man. He's a 30-year-old man who doesn't have a laptop apparently or a way to join. So I don't know. That guy needs to stop spending all of his money on booze and buy a laptop. And
I do
the
agree.
the Broncos definitely, I think, outperformed expectation in the grand scheme of things, but also at the same time, that division had 3 playoff teams: the Chargers,
Mhm.
the Chiefs, and the Broncos. And the Raiders were legitimately a free win on the schedule last season.
Yeah.
So they finished 10-7, and then they went to the playoffs and got smashed by the Bills 31-7. I remember after the very first touchdown throw from Bo Nix, where they took a deep shot and scored, Brady texted me and you both and said, "I'm not worried about the Bills at all."
35-0 run from there.
And it was completely over at that point. So, um, what did you think of last season in a whole? Like, how do you feel about Bo Nix? I feel like, and we said this last year when we previewed the team. This is more about Sean Payton than it is about anybody else. And what did you think of last season?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it. They definitely played higher than expectations, right? I don't think either. I believe both of us did not have them to make the playoffs. Brady had them in there to make the playoffs, but he was probably just speaking as a fan that ended up being right. So I'll
We
give
said
him
8
credit
wins. I said
for
8
that.
wins. I think you said 8 wins as well.
But yeah, I think that this was more of a uh, Sean Payton. I was more. I felt better about Sean Payton than I did about like the entire makeup of the Broncos. Like I think Bo Nix is a fine quarterback. I don't think he's going to be like a guy that takes you to the next level. Um, but I think Sean Payton did a phenomenal job of making sure that he was ready every single game his rookie year, and um, we saw how that played out. They made the playoffs. Obviously, they were one of those teams that was more so of a pretender rather than anything. But like rookie quarterback played above expectations. I think you have to be pretty happy with how the season played out. I was trying to pull up their schedule from last year just so I could kind of get a gauge on like who those teams were and how difficult of a schedule that they had. And like, because now that they were a playoff team, they'll likely end up having a tougher schedule. But um, th- this schedule is not really anything to write home about. I mean, they played the NFC South as their one of their opponents for that year. So, and they had 4 wins on their schedule because of that. So, I don't think they're going to get that same um, grace this season with that easy of a schedule. Um, I
Yeah, I'm with
don't
you.
think this is going to really be a playoff team this year.
I'm with you. I think this team's solid. I think they're always going to be like slightly in the mix, but that's because Sean Payton will always be able to adjust to what his team needs. And I do think Vance
Yeah.
Joseph is a pretty solid defensive coordinator, but this is always more about Sean Payton than anything else and what this team can do. The additions that they made this offseason, Hufunga, the safety from the 49ers, who had an all pro season a few years ago, who's been dealing with some injuries, but he's a solid player. You get Dre Greenlaw, another player from the 49ers, who is a wrecking ball, is how I'd probably describe him. But he's also coming off of an Achilles injury, and you don't know really where he sits at right now on like his return and what he's going to look like. He came back for literally a half last season and then sat out for the rest or like at closer to the end of the season, but then sat out for the rest of the year because from calf soreness or tightness. I forget what it was, which always isn't the best sign. And from there, obviously,
Evan Ingram, 2-year, $23 million deal as well.
yeah, which I think he fit. I think he fits like a nice Bo Nix like mold for what like Bo Nix likes to do. He loves to check the ball down. He loves to hit those underneath crossing routes. And Evan Ingram's able to catch those balls and create after the catch. It's just more about, can Evan Ingram stay healthy? 2 seasons ago, we saw a fully healthy season from him, and he was extremely effective.
He was
Last
great,
season, he tore his hamstring off the bone during warmups. And then if you look at his entire career up to that point, he's always had that problem being able to stay healthy for the whole tenure of the season. So I think that that's something to probably keep an eye on with Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, they're 3 big name signings. The most money that they went out and spent were on 3 guys that were very boom or bust. And
Yeah.
if you get the boom version of those 3 guys, I think that defense is going to be nasty. And I think that that Bo Nix will have a really solid weapon in Evan Ingram, but like, am I going to bank on all 3 of those guys staying healthy for the entire season? Probably not.
That's fair. Let's get right into the draft, because I want to see what you think about this. I think that at this point, a lot of teams have been like, a lot of people who have covered the draft feels like that they're going to go like a Tyler Warren route, a wide receiver route, Colson Loveland, maybe one of the running backs, like if Genty were to fall, which I feel like that's a little bit out of the equation now, or Hampton, or one of those guys. But when I was doing this, I feel like they do need to add offensive weapons, but can they get by on scheme, this team? And I think probably the answer to that question is yes, because we watched it happen last year. I think that this team is in dire need for somebody who could be an elite edge for them, or somebody who is above average at the edge position. Could this be a possibility? And you can tell me I'm completely dead wrong on this, that if one of these edges that they are in love with, because there's a ton at this juncture of the draft, could they go and take one of those key edges and add even more to this defense? Or do you think that they're going to add an offensive weapon in this year's draft in the first
Who
round?
was the who was the edge that they had last year? Nick Benito.
Yeah.
He's an out. I thought he's a pretty young guy, right?
Yeah.
I really liked him last season, and I thought he was like had a really good year. I don't know if that's something that like is what we should expect moving forward. Um, I don't hate that move. I think their offense probably needs a little bit more juice than what their defense needs at this point.
He had 13
Um,
and a half sacks last year, and he's been in the
it's
league
not
for three.
terrible.
He's been in the league for 3 seasons. No, it's not terrible at all. I'm just
Like
throwing it
you're
out.
talking like an X Factor type guy.
If they are in love with one of these edges, I feel like that could be possibly a spot on the defense that they could be like, you know what, like it wouldn't kill us to have another edge. I don't think anybody
Yeah,
feels.
no, I don't think so either. I'm not opposed to that thought at all. And I think that if you add another edge to this defense, like I think that defense is already going to be nasty with the guys that they
Mhm.
added, plus what they already have over there. If then you just add another like strong rotational edge to start that turns into like a consistent starting edge for you, like there's going to be no complaints on that. I do think they need a little bit more juice on offense though, and I did have Omari and Hampton there. From what I'm seeing though, who knows if he's even going to be there at 20? Because he, it feels like he's another name that started to rise a little bit as well. Give the banana peel.
No, I'm with you. I think Hampton in my latest mock 3.0, if you want to go to X and look at it, I have the Bears taking Hampton at 10, because I think that there's a good chance that Genty could be going 6 and Hampton could be going at 10. There are other running backs available in this class. I think that is a position that they could look to upgrade. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Or like Brady said, you can take Tyler Warren, and Evan Ingram and Tyler Warren will be Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, that was insane. Yeah,
Um,
that was. I tried to brush that one off.
The real thing that I've been hearing and seeing is that I don't think that everyone is that bought in on the fact that Tyler Warren is that much better of a prospect than Colin Loveland is. And I saw that. I don't think that there's going to be a huge disparity on where they get picked on the draft board wise, but I think that there's a lot of teams that have Colson Loveland ranked above Tyler Warren, and probably we could see him potentially go first before Warren does.
I mean, I've been seeing the same like the same thing throughout this whole process as well. Is like they're both like surefire tight ends, and there's not really like one particular thing that one does better than the other. And from what I've seen, it seems like a lot of teams really like both of those guys. I will say, from the running back standpoint, I think there are still running backs that I do like. And if they do want to go with a Colston Loveland here at 20, if Tyler Warren's not on the board or vice versa, I still think they could get a decent running back like in the second round. But I feel like I don't know off the top of my head. It seems from what I remember that they've been going running backs in the later rounds, and they just like haven't been able to like get one to stick.
They haven't been able to. What I have here on like one, I have this being a running back draft, and I think that I'm gonna keep that same vibe the entire way. I have Genty going 6. I have Amarion Hampton going 10. Then I have Caleb Johnson going to Iowa
From Iowa
going to the Commanders at 29. Then I have Quinshon Judkins going to the Kansas City Chiefs at 31. I just think that this is one of those drafts where, and the Broncos really fit this mold too. A lot of these guys have bad running backs. And I think that this could be, I want to see the Broncos take one of these tight ends because I think it could be good. But I think that they're low key desperate for a running back right now, because who do they even have right now?
Javonte Williams.
No, he's on the Cowboys, brother. Their running back.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot they did. The Cowboys signed all of the bad running backs.
Their running back room right now is Jaleel McLaughlin, Aldrick Estime, Tyler Batty, and Blake Watson. I mean, just really no big pops on that in that running back room. So I think that that's definitely a position that they could address, whether that be in the first round or later on. They're definitely going to take a running back in this year's draft. They have to. Yeah,
there's too many good ones that they can.
What if they get Todd Gurley? What if they can get Todd Gurley out of retirement?
Who was the guy from a few years ago that had like the curly red hair, light skinned guy?
Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, where's he at?
He's just he's waft.
Is he putting the fries in the bag?
Yeah.
Dang. That's a tough one. Although that guy was generational for like 3/4 of a season.
Yeah, he rushed for $1,000.
Good for him.
People forget.
People do forget, but
do you have
not
anything else? Do you have anything else you want to add on about the Broncos? I wish this was a better episode, but I mean, Brady Green is just a selfish bastard.
Yeah. Maybe instead of buying Sperry's and Vineyard Vines, you could buy a laptop.
And only fans accounts.
Hey, I didn't say that.
So
white clouds blowing out when we max 4-5, not the size, but it kick up. Highlight of my life, man.